All right, here we are. It is November 22nd. It's a Friday night, and my name is Eric. It is time to do some kind of a video here. I don't really have a name for it. I think we'll probably start by talking about people a little bit and what we are. The reputed psychoanalyst Eric Fromm once said that people love to get together on Sundays and discuss how they can create a more equitable society. But they really don't lose any sleep over it because people don't react until the effects of what's happening actually touches them, right? And that's why it's really important that the people who run everything create this stratification of status. They can actually pick people off like at a shooting gallery. They start with the lowest class and they make them homeless. The people that have the least money can't afford to pay their bills, especially when inflation is on the rise, and they create this inflation. They actually manifest it by making purchases. They buy mortgage-backed securities, they buy debt, and all of this creates more and more wealth for the rich, and it makes the poor poorer because the prices go up, right? And so, yeah, Fromm had a good point of view on this. So people are very depressed. And I like to tell people, look, if you find yourself trapped in depression, one of the best resources that you have is this huge warehouse of experiences. Now, there are people that don't have a lot of good experiences in their life, but most of us have some. And so you go back to those experiences. We often hear that you don't want to live in the past. Well, I mean, this is something that can be overdone just like anything else, but it's very necessary to revisit the past because this is therapy. You utilize the best feelings you ever had in your life because feelings are intangible. You can't really explain them to people. You can have this wonderful, magical feeling, this enlightenment, but you cannot make anybody else feel that. You can do your best to do that, but it's important that we utilize this, right? And so, yeah, there are several things we can do to improve our lives that way. And so, Fromm really understood, as a psychoanalyst, he really understood what makes people feel better. And understanding love is another one. Love is really a respect and appreciation for nature. And this is another one of those things you just can't it's a formula that is intangible. You can't explain the way you feel when you see a particular sunset or a particular forest or just any type of beautiful landscape. And this type of thing is love. Your love is the appreciation for what comprises all human beings. And so, Fromm tried to get across what I really have always thought, that love is just a projection of your love for nature on an individual. Okay. The more you spend time with this individual, the more you begin to trust them. We've often heard, when you hug someone and you hug someone a few times, you tend to have a bond with that person. So, yeah, projecting your love for nature on a human being is very, very important. So, once we can understand human behavior, we can further ourselves. We have the key to solving most of our problems deep within us. Carl Jung said, "Those who look outward dream, but those who look inward awaken." And it's all in there, guys, just like those experiences and memories that I just told you about. So I think it's important that we understand these things. I often like to utilize things like the wake of the boat, right? The wake of the boat is that it's basically the basically this little path that the boat leaves behind it. And we tend to think we can judge where the boat is going by the trajectory of the path, right? But we don't know if there's a captain in the boat. Is there a captain in the boat that makes decisions? And when I say the captain of the boat, I'm talking about inside of our own heads. We tend to let our past and what we've done in the past define who we are, what our future is, right? And so, for instance, if you drink or smoke and gamble, people tend to want to say, this is what I've always been. This is what I've always done. And that's wrong. We are creatures that are capable of change, and we should know that. So the wake should not tell us where the boat is going. We should be steering ourselves in the direction that we logically calculate for our lives to improve. Okay? So Yeah, that's a great expression. Then there's the old Taoist expression, you can't step twice on the same piece of water. I've often had friends say, I know that already when you try to help them. And I think a lot of people make the mistake of trying to sound like they know something somebody else doesn't know. Almost everything you tell people, they kind of know. Most people know that there's something wrong in the world right now, and they kind of have a general idea what it is. But, with regard to this can't step twice on the same piece of water, every time you revisit an issue or a topic, you see it differently based on all the experiences you had in the interim. Well, we'll give you an example here. When you would present a young child with great literary quotes, they don't have much to base their understanding of this on. They don't have many associations to make. So the more experiences you have, the older you get, the more you can actually understand this issue or topic in depth. Sorry, I'm drinking beer here, so that's not the best thing when speaking. But yeah, I think people have to understand it's so important to keep revisiting topics and issues. People think, well, I need to have something new all the time. The new things are the modifications you make with regard to your understanding and your perceptions of these events based on all of your experience in the interim, right? From the last time you visited to the next time that you visit these things. So, all right, so this is just a kind of a brief therapy for everyone that I think we all need. We all need to take a look at ourselves. And again, with regard to that Carl Jung quote, Joseph Campbell once said, people love to spend their time enjoying the experiences of life, but they delegate far too little time to understanding its true meaning. Okay. So yeah, there's so much to learn in life, and we need to rely on ourselves. People are so tribal, and they find themselves in kind of a blind alley. It's one of these things where people need support of a group of other people. All of us in general aren't afraid to be lost as long as we're not lost alone, right? We feel much better if there are people with us. If you're in the forest or in the wilderness and you're all by yourself, well, it's pretty frightful for most people. If you have a few people with you, you feel better. If you have a large number of people, well, it generally would indicate, or you would hope, that these people all have individual resources, right, and skills that would allow them to solve the problems that they face as a group. And so that's very, very important. And so, yeah, I think people understand tribalism, but they don't understand it. They don't understand how reliant they are on being with a group so that they'll actually sacrifice the truth just to be with this group. So it's important. It's important that we gain confidence in ourselves, that we walk alone. We're not afraid to walk alone. We're not afraid to keep our chin high and feel confident in who we are. And to do that, we have to dig deep within ourselves to understand who we are and what we're capable of. So, all right. So I guess this is a good start for tonight. And I can always return on this, but I hope this helps people. And I know it helps me. I mean, and that's another thing. When we revisit things, when we speak on things, we're not just speaking to other people, we're speaking to ourselves. And ourselves, in a way, are the center of the universe. And, that sounds, I guess, self-centered, but that term is often misunderstood. Being self-centered is good. Being centered and confident in one's own abilities is very good. Being confident that you can handle your problems alone is very good. Now, if you need help, it's nice to know that it's there. It's nice to have people with us. And it's also nice to know that we are all basically constituent parts of one unit, right? If people can understand that, Fritjof Capra was a reputed physicist. And I shouldn't say was, he's still alive. He's quite old now. He's Austrian, and he wrote a book, the Tao of Physics, or the Tao of Physics. And the idea here, and I think he based it on Descartes for the most part. Descartes, of course, being a mathematician, philosopher, scientist, born in 1596 in France, and he did this comparative analysis of a human body to a clock, and we understood all these constituent parts could be looked at as individual parts themselves. just like cells in the body are almost an individual in many ways because they seem self-perpetuating and self-sustaining. And if we can understand that that represents us, and that's a group of things that, again, comprise our body. And this comparative analysis of a human body to a clock with all these working parts also applies to a region or a country or a world or a solar system or we could go on to a galaxy and really totality, right? The entire universe is comprised of all these working parts, and we all work together. And perhaps that's what God is, right? And trying to help each other by getting these thoughts across is important. Orwell once said, perhaps it's not so much love that people are looking for as much as to be understood. And perhaps that is what love is, understanding nature, understanding a relationship to nature and other people. And so, this is just kind of me rambling, having a beer tonight on this Friday night. But I hope this is helpful. I know it is to me, and whether I actually let anybody hear this or not. I often make recordings. I just do this for practice. And I don't really speak anymore because I speak to people on an individual basis every day for hours. I meet people and people want to listen. But speaking publicly and in groups now is very dangerous because there's no question that the few people who control the many want to maintain their power. They don't want people to have individual power. They don't want people to be confident. They don't want people to be critical thinkers and be able to figure out that they're being screwed, as George Carlin once said, right? He said that the upper class does none of the work, gets almost all the money, and pays none of the taxes. The middle class pays almost all the taxes, does almost all the work, and gets hardly any of the money. And the lower class is just there to scare the hell out of the middle class and keep them working for the establishment, right? For the few, for the aristocrats, for the elite. And that's what we do. Even the Republicans back in the 19th century referred to wage labor as slavery. And I think it's not that I think, we know this. I've sent a group of Noam Chomsky videos to some friends recently, so they understood that capitalism has been a scam and people believe in things wholeheartedly. We are all controlled from a central location. I know that sounds crazy, but it's certainly true. And there are mechanical tools to do that with. And three of those primary tools would be politicians, media, and academia. They have all taught us throughout time what we're supposed to believe. And they always leave out key components to every issue, so that in the end they can alter the final context, right? And they can have us thinking the way they want us to think, and have us really destroy our confidence, not be totally self-sufficient, not being able to feel like we can solve our problems ourselves. All right. So I'm going to end this now, and I hope it worked. I've tried to end this a couple of times now, and I just keep going. But my name is Eric. And I guess we'll just call this video self-help or self-therapy. And it is November 22nd. Wow, that's really weird. Today is the day that Aldous Huxley died. And Aldous Huxley actually died 4 hours and 50 minutes after JFK. JFK died on November 22nd, 1963 at 12:30 p.m. in quite different fashion. Huxley died at 5:20. And he administered psychedelic drugs to his first wife on her deathbed. And his second wife, Laura Huxley, administered them to him on his deathbed. So he died in a state of euphoria. Very funny. Jim Morrison utilized one of his novels, The Doors of Perception, his experimentation with psychedelic drugs. He used that for the name of his band. And of course, that led to his demise. It's tough to handle success when you have all the drugs and all the women and all the money you want. This is not the life we're all looking for. We should all be looking for an equitable life where all of us can live together with fair wages and a relatively similar financial status, so that people don't become bigger or too big for their britches. But people have been taught that this is unacceptable. Margaret Thatcher said that there is no individual, or no, she said there is no society, only the individual. These people are all they're not brilliant people. They all have writers working for them. Okay, so they're not the author of all these quotes. James W. Lowen was a great sociologist and historian. He wrote a book called Lies My Teacher Told Me. He talked about a lot of the people that he interviewed, and these are many academics that actually endorsed books that they never wrote, right, for the establishment. And many of these are textbooks, so they would lend these books credibility, but they had no idea what the content was of the book. Noam Chomsky talks about this too. He talks about Adam Smith and how Adam Smith basically didn't believe in capitalism, and that he looked favorably in his most popular book, Wealth of Nations. He looked favorably on division of labor at the beginning, and he said that university professors point their students to this early passage where he has this point of view. But at the end of the book, he condemns it and said it would lead to the ultimate in human stupidity and ignorance from people repeating the same motions over and over again. He suggested that people could rotate these jobs. And that influenced Karl Marx. Most people don't know that. The primary influence probably for Karl Marx was Adam Smith, the founder of capitalism, who, again, as Noam Chomsky said, never believed in it. He said that the free markets would never allow an equitable wage for the working class. So, all right, we'll see if I end it this time. Thanks for listening. My name is Eric, and I appreciate it. Everybody have a wonderful evening, and New Year's coming up. All good things to everybody and your families. Thanks.